The coaching industry opened people up to brand new possibilities, whether they wanted to get coaching to improve their lives, improve themselves, or if they wanted to become coaches to be able to help other people and continue this beautiful act of service. Now, what started as a very beautiful initiative to improve ourselves and help other people improve themselves very quickly escalated into a multi-level marketing scheme where people influence others on investing thousands of dollars, even beyond their means, just to work with them or be in their energy or just be mentored by them. Usually, these coaches are teaching other coaches or people that want to become coaches how to coach other coaches that want to become coaches. You kind of get the trail. That's where the multi-level marketing scheme kind of comes into place because of the amount of money that is being circulated in this industry. Now, I'm not bashing it. I'm just saying there is a toxicity to it that I want to address in this video. And before you invest any money on any personal development course, coach, into anything to do with your own self, make sure that you watch this video. I might save you some money and give you some tips on how not to get scammed. If you'd like to learn more about how to cultivate self-confidence and create a feminine-centric lifestyle, make sure to subscribe to my channel and check out my description box below for my free masterclass, Wearing Confidence. And if you're new here, my name is Silvana and I'm a course creator and the founder of Venusian Woman, a movement that seeks to reignite the feminine wisdom that all women carry within. The reason why I know about this industry is because I too was a coach at some point in my life and have hired coaches as well. I, in fact, charge people thousands of dollars to work with me for 3 months. I love the work. I think that I gave everything that I had, but it kind of like being in that world made me really question whether what I was able to offer and give a person, which is just my presence and my wisdom and space holding, is actually worth the money that I was charging. And a big theme in this is that you kind of like always go up in price because it's your worth and your worth increases. And that's when things started getting really wobbly for me because now we're associating people's values and words with money. And I'm not saying that everybody believes this, but it's just a very predominant belief that is now within the industry. And this is a brand new industry. It's not a brand new industry, but it has become newer recently because it kind of had a boom, especially after COVID and all of like the mental health conversations coming to the surface. It kind of ties hand in hand with the coaching industry. You have like the mental health services of counseling and therapy, and that is a way of growing and working on ourselves. And then we have coaching, which is about change and transformation and how to get what we want in the smallest amount of time possible. At the beginning of my journey, I saw this as a huge opportunity of creating a career doing what I loved, which is actually teaching people. But very quickly, I started seeing some red flags that made me within a year just completely change everything I was doing, the way I was handling my business, and how I wanted to serve other people. So in this video, I'm going to share with you what are the things that I saw and that I learned. And keep in mind that this is my personal experience. This is my journey. And I'm just going to give it to you straight. Just the unfiltered truth of what I saw and experienced. So during my time navigating the coaching world, I got to meet a lot of coaches. And I actually had a pretty decent circle in terms of size of different coaches. Some of them were amazing entrepreneurs, amazing coaches, amazing human beings. Unfortunately, that was the minority of people. The majority of people that I met that are part of this industry, they kind of had a double life. One thing was what you saw online and what was said online, and another thing is what actually was going on in real 3-dimensional bone and flesh life. I got to witness leaders of sisterhood communities and feminine-led communities actually not embodying these principles and demonizing women. So it started with a hypocritical taste, and that was my introduction into this world. Then after that, I started meeting men that were coaches talking about relationships and the divine masculine, and they were doing this to get into women's pants. Like, I've met multiple men that you saw one thing online and then you see another thing in real life. So it kind of started building up one thing after the other. And that's what led me to this realization that there's something deeply wrong with like the surface level understanding of what this industry is actually offering. And we forget that we're all human beings. These are specific examples, and this is my experience. I know there's some people that have had like absolutely transformational experiences within the industry, but being inside of it and kind of like getting backroom view of everything, the hypocrisy just started increasing more and more. We tend to do this. Like, the reason why I teach about healing and confidence is because I struggled with my healing on my healing path, and I struggled with confidence. So in my own journey of leading myself through that, that's what I'm able to share with you guys. Now, I don't think that this is something that you can only get from me or from anybody. Like, you can actually do this work on your own. I did it on my own. I didn't have any therapists or coaches for many years. The first coach I had was, I hired her like a year and a half ago, and it was somebody that I was very inspired by her. So I had a very positive experience as a client and a very negative experience as a prospect in trying to maybe purchase a program or purchase a coaching container or something like that. So these things that I'm going to be bringing up might be triggering, but I think it's important to have this conversation. Another big problem that I saw was the absolute gaslighting of people's emotional traumas and their inner realities. There is this overall idea that you can just power through everything. You can do whatever you want. Everything on the way of that is just your own limiting beliefs. This statement is, I wouldn't say dangerous, but it is very damaging for people that have different experiences in life. For example, being born in a third world country, suffering the effects of colonialism, suffering the effects of racism, suffering the effects of intergenerational trauma and systematic poverty. These are not just limiting beliefs. These are highly complex issues that groups and communities are experiencing. And yes, there are the exceptions of people that can just power out of them and like beat their minds, but this is more a conversation about healing and about returning to our humanity versus just a conversation about you can do anything, just get over it and power through it. In my opinion, this actually creates more issues than fixes the problem. So while that might be true and accurate for somebody that had a different lifestyle where most of their challenges were mental in nature and most of their challenges were connected to the close environment, there's a completely different set of rules for people that either grew up in environments that have this systemic poverty or systemic racism or just the after effects of colonialism, like I said. So you cannot put a blanket statement on everything. But because we are like, this is an industry, that means that the target of an industry is to create profit. So who has the profit to invest into a $30,000, $50,000 coaching container? Well, that is usually the higher classes. So now we start seeing that this starts becoming a pyramid where you can only afford what you can afford based on where you're at, but usually the people on top are telling people that if they choose to buy their program, they're eventually gonna get to the same level as them. Again, blanket statement, and it's not true. It can be deceitful because we don't know. We simply don't know. I can stand over here and tell you, I'm going to change your life and you're going to be confident. And the truth is, I don't know that. All I can do is give you my best. All I can do is teach you what I have, but it is impossible for me to make a guarantee like that. I don't know your history. I don't know where you're at with your healing process. I don't know if you have childhood trauma, if you have systemic cultural trauma. We don't know any of these things. And even if we do know these things, transformation is a deeply personal journey and it varies from person to person. And the mind tells us that we need to be a certain way right now. But the art of living is dancing in between this desire to change and also the challenge of accepting everything as is, including ourselves, especially ourselves. So the hypocrisy of it was just very off-putting. The second thing that I saw that was deeply triggering for me was the use of people's vulnerabilities to sell. I was interested in buying like an $8,000 coaching program from a YouTuber, and at the same time I was struggling with like the whole thing of the coaching industry. That same day after, I'm like, well, maybe I can work for like somebody and see how they do it, and then see if I can make peace with this industry, because there isn't a lot of there's no regulation, so it's pretty much the wild wild west right now. I decided to work for some of these coaches, maybe in sales, because that's what I did when I worked in corporate America. I worked in sales for 10 years and I was good at it. So I'm like, okay, I can do that and just kind of see how I feel about like making money in this way, and then eventually see what I can do with, with my own business if I want to continue coaching. So the same day I received an email from the coach that I wanted to buy the program for, and she was looking for salespeople. I was like, oh my God, this is divine alignment. I'm gonna definitely go for it. And I applied and I went through like a few rounds of interviewing process, and I started getting this like tight feeling because the process felt worse than corporate. It was just not the opposite of what they were selling online, which is about like this freedom and all of these like beautiful things. It just started feeling constricting. And then we were doing a mock call. We were doing a mock call, and when they were giving me feedback on how I did, which I did horrible, they say like, well, we told you the woman couldn't have, like, she couldn't get pregnant. That was your moment to like make her cry. And I was like, oh my God, this is worse than corporate. Because at least in corporate, you know what you're getting yourself into. You know the game. So there's a different flavor to it. But this is like people that are like selling this thing to really help people. But at the end of the day, what they want is people to use their vulnerabilities to create more pain so that they buy. So that experience kind of clarified everything for me even further, because I started seeing the pattern in almost everything, which is like, you're suffering. Remember that you're suffering, and I got the answer for you. You're suffering, you're in pain. If you buy this pain will go away, because your life will transform, because you're gonna be rich and beautiful and sexy, and everybody's gonna love you. And you're gonna be the healthiest, and etc. Whatever they're selling, right? So I have an ethical problem with that. And that's why, for me, like, the entire industry has this scamish feel to it now. Even though I'm kind of like in that gray area in what I do, just in general, like, seeing like the word coach and coaching has become a trigger for me because of everything that I experienced, especially with seeing that vulnerability and coming from a background of healing, because I got into personal development just to help me heal from my childhood and from my insecurities and from my repressed anger and all of these things. Like, that's why I got into it. I didn't get into it because I wanted to be an actor and I didn't make it. So now I'm going to find the next thing that's going to make me rich and famous. It was a deeply internal process for me. So it is complex. Third red flag was the commoditizing of community, of mental health, and of friendship. Basically, if you join my group, then you get to be with my people and get access to my energy. And this is true, right? Like, it is true. We choose where we go. But at some point, it's because it is a dance. There is a point in which the moment that you overuse that, you're trying to sell friendship and community, when in reality, you cannot buy friendship and you cannot buy community. Community is a natural byproduct of relationships. You can't buy it and you cannot sell it, period. A real community is a group of individuals that choose to build together for a common cause. And this gray area of the middle of like the relationships have to be built on trust, on safety, and on connection. It's very easy to buy or sell a space into a community, but in order for you to build like a real sense of community, there's a lot of inner work that has to be done and a lot of mutual vulnerability, because in community, you don't really have a hierarchy. It's a circle. Yes, there's hierarchies all over life, but when it comes to the concept of community, we have to start thinking from a circular round perspective, where there's no pyramid, where there's like somebody on the top and everybody on the bottom serving the person on the top. We already had thousands of years of that. Hello, you look at the monarchies of the world. So the new concept of community that actually works is the one where it's circular and it's people coming together from the heart. You can sell that and you cannot buy that. So what did I do after my realization that maybe I was in a weird pyramid scheme type of industry? Well, the first thing I did was that I cleaned my relationship with money. I wanted to realize who I was without money, because in my family and in my culture, there is so much projected onto money. Actually, in the entire world, there's so much projected onto money. So money has this power energy where whatever I don't want to admit about myself, I project into that. And whatever I want to project into myself, I also project into that. But in my opinion, money is an energy that needs to be purified. Like, we need to purify our relationship to it, not money itself. Money itself is neutral, but our relationship to it is not neutral. It's very volatile. It's very charged. So how did I do that? Well, I stopped making money because I did not want to take any more clients. And somehow I miraculously survived off of $15,000 a year. This was not a solo journey. This had a lot of help from my friends and family, people that supported me whenever I didn't have money while I went through this internal turmoil. Now, I know that's not a luxury that everyone has. I don't have any children, and I have a very supportive family and a very supportive group of friends. So thankfully, I was able to pull that off and go through this transformation. But regardless whether you can or you can't, or you're like, no, not had enough money, like now it's time to make it, I think it's very good to evaluate our relationship to money. What does it mean? And not just the money itself, but how the money comes to us. That was the key element for me. Is I realized that the how, it became very important in my life. Yes, I knew how to make, $15,000 from one person by holding them from like 3 months of coaching. I knew how to make, $1,000 from an online course, but the how that money was made became very important. And the how is about ethics. And ethics is something that is not really talked about in the business world. Maybe in a vision, mission page of some organization, maybe as like a press conference conversation, but you don't never really see ethics at the core of conversations about money and wealth and businesses and entrepreneurship. So that became a pillar for me. That became a foundational block for me building whatever I wanted to build. Second thing that I did was that I got super clear on what I was offering. And the reality is that they say, you sell a transformation, not information. Well, I sell entertainment, because in all of my courses, what I'm doing is actually entertaining people, teaching them what I've learned, teaching them what I know, and just keeping them entertained. If they want to take action with the information, and if they want to integrate it and they want to do the practices, that's on them. And I have no control over that. So once I realized, okay, I'm an entertainer that has some deep, heavy, conscious content, but an entertainer nonetheless, then things started changing, because the way I was speaking and communicating with people started changing as well. And the way that I run my business changed as well. And the last thing I did was that I completely rebuilt my business from the ground up. And that took a lot of work and a lot of time. But I'm so glad that I did that, because as I rebuilt it, I cleaned the language. I removed some of the like the bad habits I learned from the coaching industry of like over promising these big elaborate things that I can't promise. I can only promise that not even on myself, because I ebb and flow with my own emotional energy. So I don't know if I'm actually going to do certain things. There's only a certain amount of control I have over my life. And I think this is healthy, is to understand that I have control over my words, I have control over my actions, but there is this percentage of me, there's this part of me that I have no control over. There is an unconscious part that does what she does, and my job is to observe her and accept her and learn to love her, because she is a part of me. I also decided to continue in mentoring people one-on-one, but only people that had already gone through my course, Venusian woman course, because if they already went through all of that, they already have I gave everything in there. If they want to pay for my time and presence and my one-on-one, then they can do that. But I gave everything. So having a clear distinction in like, okay, now what you're paying for is just a time, like an hour a week with me. And that's it. And that's the energetic exchange. That felt better, and that allowed me to kind of like purify and clear and not do what everybody else is doing, but do something more ethical, more grounded in humanity, taking care of myself, but also not being deceitful, being honest with other people about what I'm able to offer and give them. So I have a few tips and a few things that I would like to leave with you on things that you can do to make sure that you don't fall into this trap if you're considering maybe hiring a coach or hiring somebody to help you with a specific area of your life. Number one, anything you want to learn, you can learn from a book. There is a book for everything. And most of these coaches have actually written books. So go and read the book. Read the book because that is the person's wisdom just pour out there. And that's how, like, that is the cheapest way of learning anything. During that year, my $15,000 year where I was barely surviving, because you can survive of that in America, everything that I learned was through books. I didn't hire a single person to help me with anything. Everything was self-study. And it wasn't expensive. So you actually can find help in that way. You can just find a book, and then if you want to hire the person that wrote the book, then think this is what I want. Do I want more of this from the source? And is what the person's charging worth it to me? It's not about them. They have their own worth. We all do. It's about you. What is it worth for you to pay to speak with this person once a week or twice a week or twice a month or whatever it is that they are providing? And is that a good investment? Does it feel like a good investment to you? Tip number 2 is no one can save you. No one has the ultimate answer. No program is going to transform and change your life. The only one that can do that is you. Just remember that with everything in life, nothing can really transform you in the way that your mind is telling you that you need to be transformed. Because life is a dance between transformation and between acceptance. So oftentimes, we want to escape these parts of ourselves because we cannot accept them. Therefore, we fall into the trap of transformation. And we might put that power onto somebody else, into their program or their course or their whatever it is that they're offering. And the truth is, no one can save you. You are your own savior. Third tip is you are perfect as you are, even if you are a hot mess, even if your life is an absolute mess. This is perfect. You are perfect as you are. And that is okay. And if for some reason you cannot change anything in your life, then it's good news, because life is inviting you to learn to unconditionally accept yourself and accept your life in the way that is showing up for you. There is a reason for that. There's a lesson to be learned there. So don't cut yourself off from experiencing what each moment has for you. Make sure that you are staying grounded. Number 4, you cannot buy happiness. Or love or freedom. You just cannot. That's not something that you can buy. You can buy momentary highs and lows. You can buy like a dopamine hit for your brain, but you cannot buy lasting happiness, freedom, and love. These are intangible things, and these are things that we must unearth through the journey of life, not through a transaction. Number 5, clear yourself from whatever projections you have put onto money. Do some money work to understand your relationship with it, and forgive yourself and forgive others. We're all babies. We're all babies trying to figure out how to survive in this world that is upside down. So look at yourself as innocent and see other people as innocent. We're all trying to make it. We're all trying to accomplish our dreams. We're all trying to survive. And there's different levels for that we'll reach throughout our life. But at the end of the day, is extend the same compassion to yourself that you will do to others, and vice versa. So what has your experience been in the self-development world, especially in the coaching industry? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.